Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome and thank you for joining us. My name is Alec McCutcheon from Unicom. We're very pleased to be hosting today's webinar. It's actually a very popular topic. It's on the path to become a certified Agile coach. We actually ran this webinar, I think about almost exactly a year ago, and it's proved really popular. We had a lot of demand and request to rerun it. So delighted that it's taking place again, and also to welcome back our presenter, Graham Dick. Graham's a long-term partner and friend of Unicom. We've worked with Graham now for, I think, must be about 12, 13 years. And Graham's also working with us in October to deliver the workshop, Agile Coaching, the IC Agile Certified Agile Coaching Workshop. That's going to be on the 14th to 16th of October. So in today's webinar, we hope it's going to give you some really useful hints and tips. It's going to give some useful tools that you might not have heard of before in terms of Agile coaching. So what we can do is deliver the webinar. It takes about 45 minutes. There'll be opportunity for questions at the end. So please do type in your questions in the chat box at the side of your screen, and we'll endeavour to answer as many as possible. I will now hand over to Graham.
Okay, thanks very much, Alec. Great, so thanks for dialing in, everyone. My name's Graham Dick from Flexible Thinking. I'm an IC Agile accredited instructor for the coach stream, and I guess I get to work with customers day in, day out as an Agile coach, as a Scrum Master, and also as an Agile BA, which I think gives me the kind of really privileged position of being able to keep me sharp and see Agile from both sides of the equation, as it were, as a practitioner working on a project, but also in coach mode, actually then helping projects and practitioners, just get better and more effective at Agile. So this little webinar really is just a taster of sort of dipping into some of the stuff we will cover on the 3-day class that Alec mentioned. And it's kind of just dipping into some of the kind of essence points that really make Agile coaching distinct from playing that role as a day-to-day practitioner. So let's crack on. So first of all, kind of what is an Agile coach? Agile coach really is someone, it's anyone who kind of has these behaviors in a way. They kind of have a strong vision and practical knowledge of the Agile values and the Agile principles, and actually models and embodies those principles in their day-to-day behavior. So they become really part of it. And this word model, we use it an awful lot. It's about role modeling particular behavior. So almost like, really leading from the front in terms of this is the way we act, this is the way we think, and this is the way we behave in an Agile team. And what they do, they use that deep knowledge and understanding to support the team. It could be a single team, it could be a team they're on and working on, it could be a number of teams that they're kind of spreading the time across. But they're basically supporting that team and implementing Agile and being the most effective and team they can be, and also being a team that is striving and continually pushing to become higher performance. This whole thing of higher performance is kind of interesting, because you might think, why bother? Well, actually, fundamentally, it's about being able to do more, the team being able to deliver more, to be able to deliver more with less drama and less personal cost. In terms of minimizing friction and minimizing the dramas and problems that often kind of afflict us. So it's about moving that journey to high performance. And there's another crucial element as well of the coach role, and that's that kind of looking outwards, out to that supporting ecosphere of management, of other teams, other parts of the organization with which our team has to interact to be able to deliver the project. And it's helping those other groups, individuals, layers of management that we need to interact with, helping them understand Agile, understand the Agile benefits, but more importantly, helping them get how they need to potentially change their behaviors and modify how they ask for things, such they better support our team and better support our team deliver more effectively and more efficiently. Okay, so agile coaching. So kind of what is it? What is it? Right. So the coach is going to use their knowledge, their deep experience, and their kind of agile thinking skills, and they're going to coach team members or entire teams. But there's a really important point here, that those team members or that team come with a context, and you need to coach from that context. So they come at a particular place. They're an individual is at a particular place in their agile thinking, in their agile experience. They might be an absolute expert. They might be someone who's spent years in agile teams but really doesn't quite get it, and just says, I'm just here to do the job kind of thing. And as coach, it's really important to be able to kind of profile the team, profile your team members, such that you understand where they are in their particular agile journeys. And you'll find that invariably in a typical team, people at very different places on agile journeys. And we need to coach those individuals from where they are at that place, that place in that journey now, and help them start moving, working out ways and strategies such that they can start taking baby steps forward to start improving. It's about helping those team members solve their own problems. It's not giving them canned solutions. It's not saying just do this, just do that, and job done. It's about helping them come up with their own solutions to the challenges and the problems that they face. And in so doing, they will gain knowledge and experience on agile, and be more able to live, breathe, and work as a coherent kind of collaborating team member. Okay, so underpinning that, we have a number of behaviors, as we call them, and these are really key, the key kind of essence to agile coach. So at the top, we've kind of got coaching, and that's actually kind of working with the team, with our team members. It's working with them. It's in the here and now. It's coachy or team, coachy led in terms of identifying problems, and it's working in a structured approach with those individuals to help them identify problems, to help them drill into problems, start and come up with solutions, and then actually commit to delivering those, taking little steps forward to help solve problems or do stuff better. And that can be practical stuff in terms of how we do agile better. It can be soft, squidgy behavioral stuff. How do I actually interact with my team members? How can I, you might have a team member who's very sharp, very abrasive, and it's about working with that team member to actually recognize that behavior in themselves, have some recognition of the impact that has on other team members, and therefore what impact that potentially has on that behavior has on the performance of the team, because it drives down collaboration, so and then working with that team member to say, well, actually, having recognized this and accepted, there's some small steps you can start taking that will actually kind of modify that behavior a little bit, to help that team gel more. Because that's coaching. We've got kind of mentoring as well. Mentoring is kind of like side by side. It's often working with an individual. It's often working over a longer period of time. Very much the mentor has been there and got the t-shirt. The mentee is kind of seeking to emulate, really, seeking to move into that place. So it's often a role, a kind of hat you'll put on, where you're perhaps working with a team member who is an aspiring agile coach, would like to be an agile coach in the future. So you kind of mentor and support that person to start moving in that journey. You might be working with a new product owner over a period of time, kind of mentoring them in that role of product owner as they transition from a traditional project into an agile project and pick up that role and work on that role and work on their behaviors and their understanding. We've got teaching mode, and that's when actually there's plenty of times when with either individuals or the team, you just need to put a teaching hat on and actually teach the practice, teach agile, teach the principles. This is how it should work, guys, and teach it, and teach it coherently and consistently, such that the guys kind of get what we're coming from. Facilitating is kind of just it's all about oiling the wheels. It's about enabling collaboration. It's about enabling things to happen. And it's such a fundamental kind of underpinning set of skills that it's fascinating. Really, it's often kind of dismissed, and we all say, "Oh yeah, I can facilitate. Of course I can." But it's so critical to helping a team, especially a team that's relatively immature, or a team that has just kind of joined and has come together. It's really critical skills to sort of drive up collaboration and drive and help the team perform and deliver. And lastly, there's kind of consulting, and this is kind of like, it's almost like a fallback, which as a coach we should kind of avoid. But it's rolling up your sleeves and stepping in and doing stuff. And clearly the challenge of that is if you're in doing stuff, you've got less time to kind of step back and focus on facilitating and teaching and mentoring and coaching. So you become a deliverer on the team. So you offer less value then in coach mode. This silly little arc with 3 little bullet points is kind of absolutely fundamental to coaching, to the role of a coach. It's a conversational arc. It's basically how we do coaching. We work with an individual or a team to identify issues. Often a team member will come to us and actually just vent. They're frustrated, they're annoyed, they're stuck, they're embarrassed, whatever the feelings are about a situation or a set of situations, and they're just going to vent. And you actually need to let them do that. And this is where we'll talk a little bit later about listening skills and questioning really come in. So let folk vent and then start using some questioning skills. We call them powerful questions, and they're open questions which encourage kind of thought, they encourage reflection, and they encourage kind of discovery, really. So questions like, tell me about, like, what did you want to accomplish? How did that make you feel? That's those sorts of very open, powerful questions. So we use those to help our coachee kind of narrow down on, okay, well, what is the problem I'm trying to solve here? And then we'll get into issue exploration, which is where I'm helping my coachee, sift through potentially a whole bunch of different issues, organize and say, okay, well, how do they relate to each other? What should we maybe address first? And we can use brainstorming here. We can use, again, the powerful questions. We can kind of structure issues into a little backlog. And it's about helping the coachee get to a point where we're focused on a particular problem, and they're starting to then think about, okay, well, what might be some solutions? And again, a killer point here for us as a coach is we're not actually just coming up with solutions for the coachee. The coachee is coming up with solutions themselves, and that's a really important point. If we just come up with solutions, then we're just into kind of command and control management. Do it like I say, and we lose that power of collaboration and that power of original thought. So encourage our coachees to come up with their own solutions, however small, however baby step they are. It really doesn't matter. It's all about taking that first step, which then leads us on to action commitment. What is the first thing you are going to do, and when are you going to do it? Let's do it. Okay. This is really kind of teases back to the point we were making earlier. It's about return and involvement. Where does my team or my organisation get the most return on my involvement? And it is where I minimise the doing, the telling, the directing, the advising, the pushing that I do. Because what I want to encourage is I want to encourage my team members to, almost like to pull from me, to come and actually say, we've got this problem, we need to do this, we want to do this, to be self-directing. So actually them to actually recognise, yeah, this is what we need to do next, what's coming up that we need to get ready for, and setting themselves up to be open to experimentation. Let's just give this a try. We're really stuck. We're really stuck on this particular issue. There's a dozen different experiments. We're just stuck, but let's just pick one type of, one little solution and like give it a go. And what's the worst that's going to happen? Yeah, we'll stumble a bit. It won't really help, and we'll try something different. So encouraging that kind of mindset, and by encouraging that sort of mindset in our team members, it builds their awareness, their knowledge, desire to change, their ownership, etc. And we use those skills, those behaviors as facilitating the teaching, the coaching, the mentoring to help our team members move like that. And if we can encourage that, then that's where we're kind of maximizing our return. Emotional intelligence is kind of something that's, again, it's easy to dismiss. It's not a hard technical thing. It's a soft, squidgy thing, but it's so important amongst, just helping teams work together and helping us be an effective coach. It's all very well when everything's going nice and swimmingly, but when, as inevitably happens in projects, the going gets tough and we have problems, we have interaction problems, we get stressed people, get people snapping at each other. This is where emotional intelligence really comes in. And we feel it in ourselves as well. I always do. I do myself. It's being aware of those kind of almost those knee-jerk reactions that are hardwired into us, that go deep down into our, into our base behaviors of our brains, where it's like kind of fight or flight. You sit there and you're in a workshop and stuff's just not happening, going round and round in circles, and you're getting frustrated, and because you're getting frustrated, that starts coming out in your body language and starts coming out in your behaviors, and that actually doesn't help people collaborate or move forward, because people will sense that. People respond in different ways to this. Some people will clam up, some people will be aggressive and kind of almost like fight back. None of that stuff's very helpful. So kind of emotional intelligence really is about starting to a process really of kind of dialing into your own feelings and your own behaviors that you're kind of exhibiting at a point in a place like that now, and just starting to build. Initially it's just dialing up that self-awareness, just being aware. Oh God, I snapped there, didn't I? Gosh, yeah, I was really snappy. And actually just being aware of that, rather than you can look around your organization and some folk are blissfully oblivious of this, and they just do what they do. They do what they say in the tin, and that's how they are. Oh yeah, Fred's always like that. He's just the way he is. They're just unaware of their behaviors and their feelings, but more importantly, they're unaware of, or probably have little awareness of, the impact they have on other folk. So self-awareness is really important. That then leads you into self-management, because what the self-management brings in is actually we start more dialed into our emotions as they're changing. I'm getting frustrated, I'm getting angry, and you're able to then catch those little, catch yourself before you kind of react to that feeling or that emotion, actually then modify your behavior, which is really important especially as a coach, because a coach, we need to role model appropriate behaviors. So we role model respect to our colleagues, we role model self-management and self-awareness of our feelings and behaviors and emotions, just to say, so the team can see appropriate behavior and appropriate interactions, and that then is all on a path to helping build trust in the team. Because people can then say things, and it's a trusting, safe, more of a trusting, safe environment, because they're not going to get their head bitten off for saying it. People will treat that comment with respect, and and have a sensible conversation about it rather than perhaps getting very defensive or very aggressive about stuff. And then on the other side of the page here, we've got the kind of business and social awareness. So just being aware what what's the mood music amongst the team? Is everyone, if it is everyone chirpy and smiley and and moving on and cracking on, or is everyone is just silent and actually almost afraid to say anything because they get their head bitten off? What's the mood music in the team? And how can modify my behaviours and can help that mood music, so to speak. I guess behind all this stuff as well is the business of communication, because we work in an information economy, in an information age, and what we do is we kind of translate information around, and we talk about stuff because we deal in concepts, and concepts are hard and they take a huge amount of communication amongst the team, and a team that actually talks and communicates with itself effectively is a team that kind of spots problems early and addresses them in the least kind of frictionful manner. So communication is really important. The trouble is communication isn't kind of simple. It's actually really complicated, and kind of deserves to be taken really seriously. This silly little diagram is just kind of illustrating the kind of the communication process and kind of almost saying, well, this is why you actually kind of have to work hard at this to make it work, and actually consciously work hard at it. So, as a team, a team member, he or she is thinking of something, some thoughts, some emotion, some question they want to ask, and that could be a whole cocktail of stuff of that's going to get encoded now, and that's kind of like might be it's words that are kind of encoding some thoughts, but also then there's body language in there. It's like, what are we, is that person actually looking, are they looking at me as a coach, or are they looking away? Are they slumped down, or are they stood up? Are their arms crossed and defensive across across their tummy, or their arm, or they've got an open posture? Are they looking at me in the eye, or just won't catch my eye? So there's a whole cocktail of visual cues and verbal cues that get encoded there and transmitted to me by words, by the look on their face, look in their body, and I need to receive that, all that vast amount of information. But the problem is, it comes through a communications channel, and this is where it gets absolutely glorious, because of course in the modern world we all live in and work in, a lot of the time we're distributed teams. We don't always have the luxury of having all of us physically present all the time. We might have a team member who actually just lives a little bit far away from the office, so customarily works from home 3 days a week and comes to the office twice a week, which is great when they're in, then I can see them and interact with them. But when they're not there, I'm just talking through audio on WebEx or Slack or something like that. Or maybe I get a phone call and I can speak to them on the phone. Or I've got part of my team is offshored, or even better, and this is just the way it all works now. We don't all share a common language, so we're actually perhaps English is a second language for half the team or 2/3 of the team. So we're all communicating basically through a second language of each other. So we've got this almost this interference and this noise which gets in the way of me receiving and decoding and kind of understanding what the person is saying at the other end and trying to communicate with me. I then need to think of a response, and bang, goes back through the same process to the person at the other end. So it's just kind of just trying to say that communication is an unbelievably complicated business, which means that we really need to work on our active listening, and that involves a huge amount of self-management, because I'm alarmingly busy. We're all alarmingly busy, but there's some absolute key points that if we don't role model through real strong self-management, that we're actively listening and paying attention to someone, then we're actually not treating that person with respect, and people spot that, and that will then dial down their respect of you, and it will dial down the engagement you've got, and it actually knocks you right back as a coach. You're not actually being an effective coach then. So active listening is a hugely important skill to work on. It involves paying attention, but actively absorbing information. and really not just going through the motions of kind of almost like, yeah, I'm listening, but I'm not hearing. I'm hearing, but I'm not listening, and I'm just waiting to have my say. It's actually really dialing in. It's showing you're engaged, and that means looking at the person. It means physical movements like nodding. It means verbal stuff like yes, okay, great, yeah, I get it, yeah, okay, that's interesting, yeah, okay. And then it also means questioning to actually make sure that we've got a consistent understanding of each other. And just because of understanding thoroughly what that person, like my coachee, has been saying to me, doesn't mean I necessarily agree with them. But it does mean we have a consistent understanding, and we've then got a basis to move forward in our conversation. So active listening, it's a really important point. We'll kind of move on. We've talked a little tiny bit about, individuals, but of course, individuals work in teams, and teams kind of also, team members are at very different places on their agile journeys, and also teams themselves as a whole are at different, will be at different places over time in terms of how they work with each other. So you've got your team as an individual has a kind of a journey they make as they become, more technically competent, more competent at agile, more competent as a team member. So the team as a collective of individuals is on a journey, hopefully, from when they first start forming, when they first form, and this is a classic. It's called Tucker's model of team development. It's a classic model of team development. It's got these well-known stages: forming, storming, norming, performing, and then when the team finally inevitably splits and moves on a journey. And as a coach, it's really important to be able to recognize, not only be able to profile, if you like, not only by individuals on the team, but also the team itself. Where is the team in its agile experience, but also in its team formation experience? And you'll often find that initially you put a bunch of people together and you expect them just to work like a team. But as a coach, you can actually really help accelerate that journey through putting them together through the place of storming, where people are starting to think about, well, this is how I do it, and there's a lot of leaning on lampposts, etc. This is me, this is what I do, through to norming, performing, where people are starting to recognize each other's strengths and weaknesses, actually recognize that and respect each other's strengths and weaknesses and opinions, and start looking more to synthesizing solutions rather than as in the storming stage, where it's mine or yours, win or lose. And we're moving through into actually synthesizing solutions, where we're taking the best of different pieces of solutions and putting them together. So as an agile coach, you're going to actually work with that team to help them move around that curve as quickly as possible. And that's where we kind of strong facilitation and coaching skills really come into itself. Of course, you need to blend into this. What happens when we've got a distributed team, a culturally diverse team? And again, that's where you're working hard as a coach to basically to address those impediments, because that's kind of what they are in a way, and we just have to sort of sign up to them because it is a reality, and work with them as much as we possibly can. This is just a little really practical thing, and this is something I do quite often when I've got a new team, and it's just a little kind of step aside in a bit of a in a private space or a corner of the office or something, or out of the run, where we've got a little bit of time and space. And it's a thing called constellations, and it's just a great way of just helping people get to know each other and what makes each other tick. And so basically the trick is you get everyone, you put it basically have an object on the floor, and the idea is you stand everyone around the circle, and you're going to kind of ask some questions, or make some statements. And the closer they stand, an individual stands to the kind of center of the circle, so to speak, the stronger they agree with the statement, and the further away they move, the least they agree with that statement, or the more they disagree with it. The idea is you kind of ask a question like, for example, I like surprises, or that's statement, make the statement, I like surprises, and then invite the team to either move close into the centre if they can sign up to that, or move away from it if they think, no, that's not me, I hate surprises. So, if it's me, I move away because I don't like surprises. I avoid conflict with seniors. Again, do the moving. And after each statement and everyone's kind of settled where they are, it's really important, just pause and just let everyone look and see the different patterns, because we'll all be a bunch of individuals, and it'd be really interesting. The team members will be in different patterns and different positions. So it's just kind of a nice way of actually allowing folk to just, get a feel, just a little bit of a feel for what makes everyone tick. So it's quite a useful kind of team startup tool. This is something else I also like doing. And you remember our coaching arc, our coaching conversation with issue identification, issue exploration, and action commitment that we were talking about a few slides ago. This is a little coaching dojo, and it's a little exercise, and it's a great way of, if you've got a bunch of, if you're in an organization and perhaps you've got a bunch of aspirant coaches, or there's a bunch of you who are kind of playing the role of coach, and you want to kind of just increase your coaching skills, then this is a great way. Go get yourself a meeting room or something like that, and as a group just run a little coaching dojo. And what we're doing here is you're just practicing the mechanics of coaching. You're not actually solving problems. It's just short and sharp, but you're practicing working through that coaching conversation, issue identification, issue exploration, and action commitment. Because the more comfortable you can get with working through that arc and helping a conversation with your coachee move through that arc, the more you can, the less you will have to focus on each of the individual stages and worrying about have I spent too long in issue identification, and should I be moving through into issue exploration, and am I really in issue exploration, or am I still in issue identification? The less you worry about that, because you're getting more confident about the process, the more you'll be able to focus on your coachee and focus on helping them work that little process and helping them come up with their problem solutions and move to action commitment. And the better you'll be able to adapt to the different ways people work, and coaches will react to that. And it basically just makes you more comfortable having those conversations. So it's a really nice way to do it in a really nice, safe environment in a meeting room somewhere, with your colleagues, and you just play this little role where you just have you just swap around the roles. You have a coach, coachee, and an observer, and it's very short and sharp. And you just kind of, here's a problem I want to talk about, boom, and your coach will take you through that, and then you swap roles, and you have an observer giving feedback each time, and just it works nicely. So it's something you could try at home, so to speak. Okay, so now we'll just quickly talk about this. The seminar is the way the webinar is about the route to IC Agile certification. IC Agile is the International Consortium of Agile. They've been around for quite a few years now, and I think a kind of the interesting thing that makes them kind of interesting is they've got this very wide view of Agile, as kind of articulated by this kind of fan diagram, where they're kind of splitting Agile up into a whole bunch of different kind of focuses in a way. So there's focuses there on Agile engineering, on Agile testing, on DevOps, on business agility, product ownership, the stuff you'd expect. But there's also a kind of fan there on Agile coaching, so the business of being an Agile coach, and that's where kind of the subject of the webinar today. And kind of basically it identifies the little tickets, if you like, on each of the fans represent kind of classes. But the kind of really interesting thing is behind each of those little tickets is dozens and dozens and dozens of learning objectives. And the kind of thing that makes IC Agile a bit unique as an organization is that they've kind of gone out to the Agile world, and they've approached Agile thought leaders around the world and asked if they want to be involved in this, if they want to contribute. And each of those little kind of little medal ribbon type things, has dozens of learning objectives, as I said, behind them. And these have been contributed by Agile thought leaders around the world who have worked and collaborated together to articulate what it is that makes, Agile team facilitation. How do we articulate Agile team facilitation in a whole bunch of learning objectives? How do we articulate Agile coaching in a whole bunch of learning objectives? And the beauty of that is that decouples IC Agile then from training providers like myself and Flexible Thinking, who have our own training material, which then is accredited by IC Agile as meeting those learning objectives. So it gives you the, you don't have one set of training that delivers to the world. You have a set of learning objectives which can then be translated by local providers into literally, a language and a bunch of metaphors that work in that particular delivery context. So we get a lot of power and flexibility from this model. So moving to be an Agile coach, really, as I was saying, the kind of ultimate foundation of Agile, being an Agile coach, is a really solid, coherent grasp of Agile principles and the values and what makes Agile tick. That kind of underpins all this. Then on top of that, we kind of stack really powerful facilitation skills, because those facilitation skills that drive up collaboration and drive up, make collaboration happen, make trust happen, in the team, and make actually will help a bunch of individuals become a team. We then layer on top of that our Agile coaching skills, which is a whole cocktail full of basically professional coaching skills that have been brought into the Agile world that help us work as a coach to actually work with individuals and a team and teams, the plural, to help them understand themselves better, collaborate better, and actually recognize where they are now and have a desire and a drive and an ability to move forward and become more high performing. And kind of having built up those skills and built up a whole bunch of experience applying them, then if you're interested, you can then apply to IC Agile to go for their certified expert accreditation award. And this is, again, it's really interesting because it's a very practical demonstration. It's actually a practical thing. You go demonstrate in front of a panel, practical coaching, and they will set kind of, here's some coaching challenges, and you'll coach the panel through those challenges. So it's a really kind of hands-on and very worthwhile thing. Okay, and then just lastly to wrap up, as Alec was saying at the start in the intro, we've got a class 14th to 16th of October. It's the Agile coaching class. It's 3 days, insanely full, insanely busy, and insanely practical, and good fun as well. And we all, as instructor, I always learn stuff, and delegates always learn as well. It's a good session. And I think that's it from me.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Graham. And as mentioned earlier, we open up now for questions. So we just give it a couple of seconds. If you have any questions, please do type them into the chat box, and we'll aim to answer them. Okay, we've got one just appeared on the screen. So the first question, Graham, is how does a coach role fit in with Scrum Master role?
Okay, that's a really good question. The interesting thing is, I guess it can be the same or it can be different. Scrum Master, out the box, so to speak, is more about the mechanics of running a Scrum team. It's about the mechanics of doing Agile, which is all insanely valuable stuff. It's about, but the coach behaviors overlay on that a huge amount, which is a vast emphasis on the listening, on the emotional intelligence, on the questioning, and the ability to move someone or help someone move themselves from where they are now to where they kind of recognize they need to be. And so it's all about kind of the coach thing is all about moving in a way. And the fascinating thing is, I guess, as a coach, it can almost be anyone can play that role. And it can be someone on the project, like the Scrum Master, or it can be someone indeed who's actually playing the role but sat alongside the project, kind of working with everyone on the project, including the Scrum Master, so that as a collective they become more effective at Agile. So it's kind of so the answer is it can be kind of any of those. But typically, a typical route is a Scrum Master will at some point or other develop more of an interest in the coaching skills, because they start appreciating that, okay, I'm getting more comfortable with the role of a Scrum Master, but I'd like some more tools in my toolbox to help my team effectively become more high performing, because that's what we all want, and to help me as a facilitator, if you like, as Scrum Master facilitator, to more effectively perhaps iron out some of the emotional ups and downs that always happen, or just help us all kind of get over them and work with them more effectively than perhaps we have in the past.
Thank you. And next question, just coming. How do you justify embarking on an Agile coach accreditation journey?
Okay, good question. I guess as a classic thing, it's down to how it's all about return on investment, really. And if we have, I guess teams and individuals need nurturing, and it's about growing teams such that actually they just, to be brutal, they deliver more stuff with less, with less resource and less friction. They see problems coming and kind of avoid them. Yes, it doesn't mean they avoid everything, but they get better, they get more effective, more performant, and effectively they can do more stuff for the organization. So I guess and that's kind of what the whole underpinning of Agile is as well. It's about kind of doing more of the right stuff, and where inevitably we take what turned out to be wrong paths, we kind of find out about them sooner. So it's all about getting better at that. And if your organization is serious about all those sorts of things, then actually that's the kind of Achilles heel, if you like, to take, to say, okay, what I'd like to do, please, is I would like some support from you, organization, to enable me to go do some training, such that I can then come back with a whole bunch of really useful tools and techniques. I can spread them amongst my colleagues, and help make me more effective at helping us help ourselves. So I guess that's really a stab at the answer.
Thanks, Graham. A couple more questions come in. First one is, do you have any case studies on the empirical improvement the team has with the support of the coach?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Golly. I mean, there are a lot. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of customers and organisations out there that take this really seriously. I could certainly put you in touch with an organisation that has rolled out Agile coach training right across its organisation. It does Agile at scale. And it took it so seriously that it basically kind of triaged its Scrum Masters, and the subset of Scrum Masters who were really showing an interest in kind of driving higher performance, and really, they basically put that entire set of Scrum Masters through the training on that coach track, and they did it all internally. And they're still doing Agile. They haven't given up. So they're quite a good case study. There's a number on the if you just kind of hang out on the some of the Agile conferences, and indeed the conferences you run at Unicom, there are people standing up and talking about it. It's one of these things. We're a bit funny in Britain. We tend to be quite shy about some of this stuff, but certainly our colleagues across the ocean in America very much believe that it's an appropriate investment to make and take it very, very seriously.
Thanks, Graham. There's one more question. I think even I can answer that one myself. Somebody's asking about how to find out more about the course, the IC Agile Certified Agile Coaching course. If you go to our website, it's unicom.co.uk. Just hit the tab for training at the top on the toolbar, and it will take you through to the list of courses. And it's in alphabetical order, so it's pretty much at the top of the list. So that's unicom.co.uk. Also, to mention, the day after the course, we also have a big conference taking place in London. It's called Agile and DevOps Expo. Again, if you go to unicom.co.uk/expos, or just go to the homepage and click on the conferences tab, it will take you straight through to the page for Agile and DevOps Expo. So I think that's pretty much all the questions. Thank you very much indeed, Graham. Thanks everybody for joining us today.
Thank you very much for joining, everyone, and thank you, Alec, for hosting.
Just one last housekeeping thing I nearly forgot to mention. We will be making a recording available, so we'll send out a link, and we'll send that in the next few days. So if you want to listen again or share it with your colleagues, you'll be able to do it. Thank you very much indeed, everyone. Goodbye.